I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard.
Well, according to their tax documents, they work 1 hour a week.
That you don't pull another human being. Your Highness, you're complaining about your hard life and you're so privileged. It's just so weird. It's ridiculous.
She is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plaws the victim. My castle's too small. Yeah. The queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm gonna put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
There was a skit about the fact, well, you know, all Britain will insist upon is that America keeps Harry and Meghan, that they're not coming back.
With King Charles on his way out, Prince William is expected to take over the crown. And apparently at the top of his list is to say, peace out, Meghan, you're done. And he plans to formally strip Meghan Markle of her royal title.
The hypocrisy is beyond anything I've ever seen.
Now, Meghan, just last week, she did her first long-form sit-down podcast interview. She showed a basket that she had sent to the host of the podcast as a thank you for allowing her to come on. And here you can kind of zoom in here and it says, with the compliments of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex.
You're in America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our fucking prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife. Stay at home in your $29 million mansion. All right.
Harry and Meghan, they have an issue when it comes to their memory and when it comes to the truth.
I can't even. These two, Meghan and Harry, are the worst.
I just can't stand her. I just think she's such a phony.
So she runs into becoming a princess, but then when she realizes that you actually have to do things when you're a princess, it's not all just Disneyland, you know, people waiting on you hand and foot and adulating you when you actually have to like do things. Then she says, I don't want to be a princess anymore. I want to go back and be an actress.
Reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
No! I refuse! I'm sick of it!
Of all the things Harry and Meghan could have launched next, a new podcast, another Netflix docuseries, a second memoir dragging what's left of the royal family, this is not what anyone expected. Behind closed doors, quietly and without fanfare, the Sussexes have been developing something strange, something deeply off-brand, and now it's leaked. Not by accident, but through a series of behind-the-scenes whispers that found their way into the public eye.
The woman who destroyed her in-laws' family, whose own family doesn't like her, whose the in-laws obviously don't like her, the public doesn't like her, she's stuck because she was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
And once the pieces were put together, jaws dropped. Because this new venture, it's not about charity, legacy, or even healing. It's something far more bizarre and potentially catastrophic. According to multiple insiders, Harry and Meghan have been pouring time and money into a secret project that looks nothing like their previous work. It's not a documentary, it's not a book, it's not even a campaign or a philanthropic initiative. It's an attempt at something almost theatrical, something that blurs the lines between brand building and self-parody. And while details are still murky, what's already been uncovered paints a surreal picture. Multimedia packages, branded assets, and scripts allegedly tied to their recent Africa visit, packaged and positioned not as a reflection on culture, but as a full-blown rebranding experiment.
I don't know what I'm doing. Yet.
My business hasn't gotten traction. Yet. No one's picked up my book proposal. Yet.
Yes.
I haven't found my soulmate. Yet. Everything is yet.
The power of yet.
The power of yet.
Their shows haven't been canceled yet. Meghan Markle has not been silenced in public life yet.
And here's the kicker. It didn't come from Netflix or Spotify or even Archwell's official channels. It surfaced through whispers from a production company that reportedly passed on the project, citing creative confusion and reputational risk. Which begs the question, what exactly are Harry and Meghan trying to do? And why does it feel like even their closest professional partners are walking away? The reaction has been swift. Critics are calling it desperate, supporters are confused, and industry insiders, they're stunned. Because if the early leaks are even half true, this isn't a comeback, it's an identity crisis, filmed in high definition. And as the world starts to connect the dots, one truth is becoming harder to ignore. The Sussexes may have just unveiled the strangest chapter of their post-royal saga yet. The whispers swirling around Meghan and Harry's leaked project all seem to circle the same uneasy question. Is this really a rebrand? Or a frantic attempt to distract from disaster? Because the timing isn't just suspicious, it's screaming for attention. In the wake of failed ventures, nosediving public opinion, and Nigeria's flat-out rejection of their second royal-style tour, this so-called secret project looks less like a creative breakthrough and more like a red emergency button.
There are growing calls to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which aired hours after he lost his appeal for taxpayer-funded UK.
And the way it's being framed behind the scenes, that only adds fuel to the fire. Sources say the Sussexes are banking hard on this new initiative being a fresh start, something that reframes their legacy and reintroduces their values to a public that's clearly stopped listening. But let's be real, that's not how this is landing. Not with the public, not with the press, and especially not with the entertainment world. Because what they've created, according to one industry exec who reviewed an early pitch deck, feels like two people trying to salvage a crumbling brand by throwing glitter on the rubble. Let's not forget the context. Spotify pulled the plug. Netflix is reportedly distancing itself. Their Archetypes podcast fizzled after one heavily curated season. And public support, even in America, is slipping. The couple's inner circle has shrunk, their allies are staying quiet, and now they're being accused again of exploiting their ex-royal status to stage unofficial tours in countries like Nigeria. And right as that controversy explodes into headlines, boom, a mysterious new project leaks, complete with glossy visuals, vague promises, and a sudden media trail. That's not coincidence, that's crisis control. And here's where it gets really messy. Because if this project does tie back to their Nigeria visit, as many insiders believe, it's not just an odd PR move. It's a calculated repackaging of one of their most tone-deaf moments. And if the goal was to make people forget about the backlash, it's having the opposite effect. The more people dig, the more questions they're asking.
Harry's digging an even bigger hole for himself here.
Well, I think he's dug so deep now, he'll strike water any day now.
William is reportedly formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH titles.
Like, who funded this? Who greenlit it? And most of all, what are they actually trying to prove? It was supposed to be a triumph, a transformative tour, as Meghan called it, a heartwarming return to roots. But instead, their Nigeria trip has become the thing they can't outrun. A PR disaster so deep, it may have directly triggered the secret project's rushed development. Because what looked like a photo op in the moment has now spiraled into global embarrassment, with Nigerian officials slamming the door on a second visit, public sentiment turning hostile, and critics calling the entire first tour a royal cosplay stunt. Let's not forget, Harry and Meghan arrived with Netflix cameras, coordinated wardrobes, and all the trappings of a classic royal engagement, despite no longer being working royals. And now, officials in Nigeria are openly questioning their intentions. Were they really there to foster goodwill? Or was it always about packaging content for a new documentary? Some insiders believe the secret project is just that, a glossy, rebranded version of the Nigeria trip, designed to spin backlash into a redemption arc. But with the public already dissecting every uncomfortable moment from the original visit, it's starting to feel like a disaster dressed up in royal fabric. And then came the cold shoulder. According to verified sources, Nigeria didn't just decline a follow-up tour, they publicly rejected it through their Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's not miscommunication, that's a message. A loud, calculated no thanks to a couple who flew in uninvited and filmed for what now appears to be commercial gain.
She's slaughtered this weekend because there were some business cards in the back of one of her podcasts. She's still using her royal title, HRH, despite our late Queen warning her.
And it's not just about pride, it's about protocol. Meghan may have declared she was 43% Nigerian with a smile and a camera crew, but many Nigerians saw it as ancestral cosplay, shallow, opportunistic, even insulting. Now, if this new project includes that trip, or worse, repackages it without local consent, the backlash could become even bigger. Nigerian leaders, cultural scholars, and everyday citizens are already accusing the Sussexes of exploiting identity for image. So if the project drops without acknowledging the controversy, it won't read as a comeback. It'll read as proof of everything people feared, that the trip was never about connection, it was about content. For a couple once hailed as Hollywood's next power players, this might be the biggest blow yet. because the most revealing part of the secret project leak, Netflix doesn't want it. According to multiple industry insiders, the streaming giant, once Meghan and Harry's biggest professional ally, quietly passed on the project after internal concerns skyrocketed. Legal red flags, diplomatic tension, public backlash, and now, it's not just Netflix hitting the brakes. It's the entire entertainment industry slowly but deliberately pulling away. Early versions of the project, rumored to be centered around the Nigeria trip and Meghan's diaspora connection, were reportedly shopped around to top executives. Some were pitched as docuseries, others as inspirational empowerment features, but the reactions behind closed doors were far from enthusiastic.
It's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honor to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating in Buckingham Palace. It was agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
One source familiar with Netflix's internal review told Deadline it wasn't worth the risk. The optics were too messy, the backlash too fresh. And just like that, what could have been their post-Spotify comeback vanished. But it gets worse. Hollywood, always obsessed with image, is watching this fall in real time. One major talent agency quietly pulled out of a previously rumored partnership. A prominent publicist who once helped the couple secure key speaking engagements, gone. And even Beyoncé's inner circle, once rumored to be exploring collabs with Meghan, has gone silent. No more selfies, no more seat saving, just quiet distance. And in an industry where silence is louder than shade, that's not just a shift, it's a warning sign. Because what Meghan and Harry are learning now is that fame isn't enough. Influence must be earned and sustained. And when every new project smells like damage control, the powerful start to scatter. Meghan may still be pitching, still promoting, still trying to steer the ship, but insiders say the appetite in LA has changed. People don't want another scandal-wrapped storyline. They want results. They want stability. And right now, that's the one thing the Sussex brand can't seem to offer. If Netflix, their most visible backer, walked away quietly, it sends a loud signal. This isn't comeback season. It's collapse control. What Meghan and Harry thought would be a triumphant return to global relevance is now being dissected as something far more uncomfortable, a case study in performative activism, celebrity opportunism, and what some Nigerian scholars are now calling celebrity colonialism. The term may be new to the Sussex camp, but to critics, the pattern is painfully familiar. Privileged Western figures parachuting into African nations, delivering speeches, snapping photos in traditional garments, and leaving with glossy footage, glowing headlines, and nothing left behind.
She kind of sold her soul to the devil. Obviously, she's always wanted to be an A-list actress. She never wanted to be a princess. I called out from the very beginning. She wanted to be amongst the A-list because that was her life.
And this time, people aren't staying quiet about it. Meghan's declaration that she was 43% Nigerian during her visit might have earned applause from a carefully curated audience, but it sparked a firestorm across Nigerian academia, journalism, and cultural institutions. It wasn't the DNA claim itself that bothered people. It was the timing, the delivery, the camera crews. To many, it felt less like cultural pride and more like ancestral cosplay, a percentage plucked from a mail order test, leveraged not for connection, but for content. Cultural leaders called it shallow. Historians from Lagos to Abuja publicly questioned the authenticity of the tour. And while Meghan smiled in carefully staged photo ops, entire royal families in Nigeria, actual dynastic institutions, were never even contacted. No outreach, no consultation. Just lights, cameras, and surface-level symbolism. And now insiders believe the couple's secret project may try to rehash that visit as a cultural love letter, conveniently edited to erase the backlash. But in today's media climate, that kind of revision won't go unnoticed. Worse still, tribal coalitions have since issued private petitions to the Nigerian government warning against further Sussex visits unless strict diplomatic channels are followed. In their words, the Sussexes don't represent a government, a monarchy, or a cultural body. They represent a brand, and if that brand is trying to sell identity without respecting it, the price is too high. What Meghan and Harry may not have realized is this. Once the mask of goodwill slips, there's no PR strategy in the world that can patch the damage. If this new project pretends the backlash didn't happen, they're not just risking embarrassment, they're inviting a second global rejection. The illusion is cracking. For years, Meghan and Harry have carefully walked a tightrope, presenting themselves as independent while clinging to the prestige of royalty. They weren't official diplomats, yet they acted like them. They weren't working royals, yet their events mirrored state visits. But Nigeria? That was the moment the mask slipped, because behind the designer dresses and well-lit smiles, one glaring truth emerged. They're on their own. Not only did the British government have nothing to do with their visit, they actively stayed out of it. The British High Commission in Nigeria didn't coordinate, didn't co-sign, didn't even issue a formal comment. Diplomatically, that's huge.
Reality is she's a grifter. Fake it till you make it.
Everything they do seems so manipulative, calculated, PR motivated, money motivated.
It means Harry and Meghan weren't just independent, they were rogue. No formal protection, no recognition, and no real authority. They may have looked the part, but to insiders across multiple foreign offices, the message was clear. This wasn't a royal tour, it was a performance. And now the consequences are catching up. Behind closed doors, UK Foreign Office officials were reportedly relieved when Nigeria shut down a second Sussex visit. One former British diplomat in Abuja didn't mince words. They were acting like they had a mandate. They didn't. And if the Sussexes' new secret project tries to present that trip as some kind of diplomatic achievement, it won't just be inaccurate, it'll be inflammatory. Worse still, that kind of misrepresentation opens doors to serious international scrutiny. Because in diplomatic circles, pretending to speak on behalf of a nation or institution you no longer represent is a reputational landmine. And right now, Meghan and Harry are dancing dangerously close to it, especially if the project includes footage of handshakes with officials, ceremonial events, or local leaders who were never informed this would be turned into global content. This isn't about red carpets and royal nostalgia anymore. This is about credibility. And with each unendorsed appearance, each press push wrapped in royal imagery, that credibility is eroding fast. They may call it empowerment. The world is starting to call it entitlement. From the moment Meghan and Harry stepped onto Nigerian soil with glowing faces and a full media entourage, insiders raised eyebrows. Who invited them? What was the purpose? But the most telling question came from within the entertainment industry itself. Were they filming? Because now, as pieces of the so-called secret project begin to leak, it's becoming clear to many that this wasn't just a goodwill tour. It was a production shoot disguised as diplomacy. Multiple sources close to Archwell's media team claim that crews were present throughout the Nigeria visit, not just for personal keepsakes, but for professional use. And while no official documentary was ever announced, the footage, it exists. And now, those same sources believe Meghan and Harry may be quietly assembling it into a new branded feature, a glossy, emotion-driven visual project built entirely around that trip. A repackaged PR arc, possibly framed as a celebration of Meghan's African heritage and their commitment to international philanthropy.
Able to just be a human. I've never seen this sort of before. I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
Except there's one problem. No one gave them the green light. Government officials in Nigeria have made it crystal clear. The Sussexes were not on any official diplomatic mission. No state invites, no foreign office approvals, which means if this footage was captured for commercial release and is now being shaped into a media product, it's skating on incredibly thin diplomatic ice. And it's not just about permissions, it's about intent. Because if this secret project is revealed to be a documentary, or even part of a larger branding push, it will confirm what many Nigerians suspected from day one. This wasn't about culture or connection. It was about content. The backlash is already simmering. Academics, cultural leaders, even foreign media analysts have begun calling it what they believe it is, a self-serving narrative dressed in diaspora aesthetics. And if that's what this project turns out to be, the fallout could be massive, not just in Nigeria, not just in Britain, but globally. Because once again, Meghan and Harry may have confused attention for approval, and in trying to reclaim their image with carefully crafted footage, they may have only exposed how far they've drifted from the truth. At first, it looked like a one-off embarrassment, a misstep, maybe even a misunderstanding. But now, in the wake of this leaked project, it's clear. Nigeria's rejection wasn't isolated. It was the first domino. What started as a curt no from the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has rippled outward, turning one snub into a full-blown international rebuke. And as more governments, cultural institutions, and media power players watch the fallout unfold, one thing is becoming undeniable. The Sussexes have lost control of the narrative. Let's be clear, Nigeria didn't just say, "not this time." They slammed the door shut, firmly, publicly, and with zero ambiguity. Officials cited no national interest in hosting a second Sussex tour, and sources now reveal there were formal discussions at multiple ministerial levels before delivering that verdict. That's not emotional, that's strategic. And insiders believe it wasn't just about optics, it was about precedent. Nigeria refused to be used as a backdrop for another self-styled royal production. No cameras, no stagecraft, no pretend diplomacy. Just a message, you're not welcome. And now, that message is being echoed elsewhere. Tribal leaders who were bypassed during the first trip are speaking out. Cultural coalitions are submitting formal requests for tighter restrictions on foreign media visitors, claiming ancestral ties without community consultation. And the phrase celebrity colonialism, once a fringe academic term, is making its way into headlines and policy circles.
This is a joke, and I'm tired of some of these media outlets continuing to elevate this person.
The conversation is no longer about Harry and Meghan alone. It's about the power imbalance they represent and the entitled assumptions behind their brand. Even within the UK, the rejection has reignited long-simmering conversations about royal accountability. How can a couple so distanced from the monarchy still leverage royal titles to engage in unsanctioned international tours? With backlash building, critics say this secret project, if it includes footage from their first Nigeria trip, may actually accelerate efforts to strip them of their remaining titles. Because here's the truth, Nigeria didn't just close a door on the Sussexes. They opened one for the rest of the world to walk through. And now people everywhere are asking the same thing. What happens when the royals with no kingdom are finally told to stop pretending? For a couple who once had the world at their feet, Netflix, deals, Spotify exclusives, high wattage friendships, and the soft halo of royalty, the unraveling has been astonishing. And now, with the secret project leak exposing just how desperate and directionless their brand has become, talk of a total collapse is no longer speculative. It's happening. Because if Nigeria was the first slap, and Netflix walking away was the second, what comes next might be the blow that ends it all, the final stripping of their royal titles. In the UK, political momentum is building again, and this time, it's not just tabloid noise, it's legislative intent. Members of Parliament, particularly those aligned with traditionalist wings, are invoking the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, a dusty but powerful law that's only been used in the most serious of circumstances. Once reserved for royals who sided with enemy nations during wartime, the act is now being eyed as a tool to sever the Sussexes' remaining official ties for what critics call symbolic treason. Not legal betrayal, but reputational assault on the monarchy. The argument? Harry and Meghan have cashed in on their titles while simultaneously waging a global smear campaign against the crown. And now, with the Nigerian tour exposed as what some see as a covert branding exercise, potentially featured in their leaked project, those accusations are only gaining traction. If this project is released under the banner of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, it may be the final provocation the palace needs to stop protecting them altogether. And their allies, they're disappearing. The inner circle has gone quiet. High-profile supporters who once defended their every move are now distancing themselves. Industry leaders are calling them uninsurable. One top-tier publicist even warned prospective clients.
After taking a break, I guess, Meghan Markle is back, and she has released a new Netflix trailer.
Don't tie yourself to a falling brand. The glamour has faded, the goodwill has curdled, and what remains is a volatile duo with too much baggage and not enough backup. So where does that leave them? Standing alone, with a damaged brand, a rejected project, and an empire built on borrowed prestige. If Parliament moves, and it's looking more likely by the day, just Harry might finally become reality. And this leaked project, it may go down as the last time they tried to pretend the crown still fit. It's hard to believe this is where the Sussex story has landed. From royal wedding adoration to palace exit controversy to Hollywood power plays, Meghan and Harry were once the hottest ticket in the world. Now, they're being iced out. And this secret project, rather than sparking a glamorous rebrand, may have just confirmed what critics have been whispering for months. The royal illusion is over. The brand is fractured, and the world has finally moved on. Because this wasn't just a bad pitch. It wasn't a failed docuseries or a podcast misfire. This was their last big swing, a desperate attempt to stitch together PR scraps and repackage the Nigeria trip as a cultural love letter. But instead of empathy or admiration, what they've earned is scrutiny, intense, unrelenting, and deeply personal. When Nigeria slammed the door, it wasn't just about one country saying no. It was the global stage quietly turning away from a couple that once commanded its spotlight. And now, even Hollywood is shutting its doors. Studios are nervous. Brands are silent. The same industry that once tripped over itself to be associated with Meghan's modern Duchess narrative is now treating the Sussexes like toxic assets. They bring heat, but it's toxic heat. one talent agent said. And when Netflix, their biggest partner, passed on this project, the message was deafening. Whatever magic was left is gone. Even their inner circle can't ignore it anymore. Whisper networks in Beverly Hills have labeled them uninsurable. Beyoncé's camp has gone radio silent. Former advocates have pivoted, quietly moving on to less volatile partnerships. Because in an industry that thrives on charisma, consistency, and clean optics, Harry and Meghan are now a cautionary tale. So what happens now? The titles are on the chopping block, the media empire is stalling, and the audience, their last true ally, is tuning out. This secret project was supposed to mark a new chapter. Instead, it feels like an ending. The soft throne they tried to build for themselves has crumbled under the weight of contradiction, entitlement, and overexposure. And if this was the comeback moment, then it may also be the confirmation that the Sussex era, once so full of promise, is slowly fading into silence. So now we want to hear from you. Is this the final fall of Meghan and Harry's brand, or just their most tone-deaf move yet? And do you think their titles should finally be revoked? Like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.